Hello, welcome to Wisconsin Sports Collector. We're going to talk about 1956 and 1957 Milwaukee Braves stuff. I'm going to combine them because there's not as much product as there had been previously. It's still a lot of nice stuff, of course. But just because there's less stuff doesn't mean there's less excitement here. The town was getting pretty jacked up about the Braves. In 1956, they finished one game out of first place. Of course, there were no playoffs in that time. You just won the league and you went to the World Series. In 1957, they did it. They won the World Series. The only time this town has ever won the World Series. The town was dancing in the streets, I'm telling you. The hated Yankees, someone on the Yankees called Milwaukee Bush League, so we adopted the name Bushville, and Bushville won. Let's talk about what they had out there at that time. Okay, in 1956, Topps made cards that look a little bit like the 55s. Still good looking, of course, but for me, a little too close. They use a lot of the same pictures even on the cards. Um, in There were 21 Braves, including the team card, which has three versions. Most all the teams in that set had three versions, and I don't know why. One says 1955 on the front, and that's a little harder to get than the other ones. I forgot to mention these. In 56 and some previous years, they had gray backs and they had white backs of every card. So some people like the whites better, some people like the grays better. It doesn't matter to me. Some years the whites were a little harder to get, some years the grays were a little harder to get. It's not a big deal for me. Topps also made pins this year, about an inch or so big. Aaron, Matthew, Spahn, and Conley are on them. They also made pins that were green with little yellow base paths on them, and 5 Braves are in those. Topps made something called Hocus Focus. They're not all baseball players, but Hocus Focus were basically sold as blank cards. Then you had to dip them in water to develop them. There's a large and a small version of Warren Spahn and a large version of Eddie Matthews. They're very tough. I can't even find a picture of them. But it was a dumb idea. They never did that again. Well, in 1957, everything came together for the Braves. It was the year of Hurricane Hazel, who didn't play at all until game 100 and hit 473 for a 3-week stretch in August when they needed him most, filling in for an injured Billy Bruton. We got Bob Hazel and Corky Valentine for George Crow. I don't know what happened to Corky Valentine. Well, we also got second baseman Red Shandy's the Hall of Famer. That really put us over the top. We had kind of been through a lot of second basemen just in the 4 years before that. Nappy Jones never got a card, but in the World Series, he got hit in the foot, game 4, and the umpire didn't see it and said he didn't get hit, and he said he was hit. So he insisted that the umpire look at the baseball, and there was black shoe polish on the ball, so the umpire changed his mind and gave him the base. I've never seen that happen before, and of course, they don't wear shoe polish anymore, so that probably will never happen again. Well, 57 Braves, there were 24 made by Topps that year, and Spick and Span made yet another version of Spick and Span cards. There were 20 players, although 4 of them were short prints. They're only 4 by 5 inches, and Topps cards that year, I should say, made a little smaller size than they had been making previously, and that size that they came up with in 57 became the standard that still exists today. Baseball cards are still that size. I'll talk about other stuff that came out in 1957, like Swift Meats. I don't have a picture of Swift Meats. There was a Johnny Logan and a Hank Aaron. The kind of a weird card too. You punched out arms and legs and bodies of players and sort of assembled them. They're pretty hard to find. In 1957, True, the men's magazine. That's not like Playboy. It was just guy stuff. They had pictures in that you could cut out to make cards, basically. But I think basically I got swindled in that one. Some guy said that was the story, and I think they're just pictures that the guy cut out. Oh well. From 57 to 60, Preferred Products made 8x10s again. There were 9 players in them. So the squabbling that happened a few years before that must have been water under the bridge by now. I don't have pictures of those either, sorry. Well, there you have 1956 and 1957. I also am going to have a miscellaneous kind of stuff later, and there's a lot of miscellaneous stuff that's not really cards or whatever, just oddball stuff. That's fun stuff. That'll be coming up, so watch for that after a while. 1957, the Milwaukee led the league in attendance again. They had done that many times now, and can you believe they would outdraw places like New York and Boston? They did. People were just crazy about the Braves, and I hope you still are. We'll talk about 1958, probably 1959 also next.